What if I told you Mr. Krabs is in an actual romantic relationship with money?
The name's Krabs. Eugene Krabs. And yours?
Kashina, you're very sweet.
Sounds weird, right? But Mr. Krabs' obsession with money wasn't just about greed. I mean, what if his love for cash ran so deep, so bizarre, that it crossed into the realm of a fetish? Yeah, you heard me, a fetish. He named his cash register Cashy and literally wished his money could talk. This just says that Mr. Krabs' relationship with his beloved dollar bills is anything but ordinary. And the deeper I researched, the stranger it got. Alright, so all your life you have believed that Eugene H. Krabs is a penny-pinching monster who is the proprietor of the Krusty Krab.
And that penny or the arm comes off!
Ha-ha! That little display of parsimonious penny pinching just earned you a nice little spot in Davy Jones' locker for eternity!
I'm not cheap! I'm generous!
He has a very well-known restaurant, a literal whale daughter, a sponge working as his chef, and an octopus as his cashier. I've already created a video about how much money his restaurant makes, and if you have watched it, you know the restaurant makes a lot of money. Then why is he having just 2 employees? I know some of you are going to comment below that Sandy, Patrick, and Pearl have also worked at the Krusty Krab, but the 2 primary employees are just SpongeBob and Squidward. SpongeBob keeps working there because he's just naive. If I can remember, there was an episode where SpongeBob literally paid Mr. Krabs to work at the restaurant.
18, 19, and 20. Here you go, Mr. K. I think this should cover all my nonsense.
How does that even make sense? And Squidward just keeps working there because he's depressed.
Need some change?
No,
Why?
because I'm all out of money!
If I was running a successful restaurant, I would be willing to pay my employees at least the minimum wage. But Mr. Krabs doesn't do that. In fact, when we watched him for the first time in the series premiere, Help Wanted, which aired on May 1st, 1999, Mr. Krabs is characterized by his intense love for money. His fixation is full-blown obsession. And then comes his daughter. He loves her a lot, and he's always willing to give her money when she demands it. And there's always a but. Mr. Krabs bought a bed for her when she was born, and she had been using it since then. If you love your daughter more than your money, wouldn't you buy her a nice bed every few years? This makes me think that he just gives Pearl money when he is forced. Now, the question is whether Mr. Krabs' obsession with money is merely a comedic exaggeration, or does it point to a deeper psychological attachment?
Touching money? You look like $1,000,000 when you smile. Kashina, would you make this old Krabs day and allow me to take you to a place where you could buy me dinner?
Well, let's face it, Mr. Krabs isn't just greedy. He's unreasonably attached to money. And honestly, the more you watch SpongeBob SquarePants, the more it feels like this obsession goes way beyond simple greed. Think about it. Normal greed is driven by the perks, luxury, power, and the status that wealth can bring. People want money for mansions, luxury trips, and Bugattis.
What color's your Bugatti?
I mean, I would want money to fulfill my childhood dream of opening a fun restaurant like the Krusty Krab. I got dragged off, but let's come back to Mr. Krabs. This man couldn't care less about any of that. He's not dreaming about lounging by a pool or hosting elaborate parties. No, his fixation is purely on the physical bills and coins themselves. If he wanted nice things, he would at least buy a nice house just like Squilliam Fancyson III. I mean, Squilliam is the greedy one in the show. He wants cars, houses, mansions, private islands, and all that stuff. Mr. Krabs doesn't even want a good bedroom. Take his behavior in the Lost Mattress episode. In this episode, SpongeBob and Squidward arrive late for their jobs. Of course, SpongeBob is paranoid and distressed.
The horror, it's unspeakable. Don't you see, Squidward? It's closed.
He's probably thinking, I will sell my soul only to make Mr. Krabs forget that I was late today. We will get to the soul part later. Now, the shocking surprise is that the Krusty Krab hasn't opened yet. Even Squidward is mildly curious at that point. Mr. Krabs arrives a few moments later, but he's very cranky, and he hurt his back because he kept sleeping on an old, lumpy mattress for years. He even admits that sleeping on this mattress is like trying to sleep on broken coral. The man could have just bought a new mattress, but no, he just wants money coming in, not going out even if it means hurting your back for years. You could say that he's frugal, but honestly, I disagree. This is someone whose connection to currency is oddly personal. Remember Cashy, the cash register he named and treats like a sentient being? That's not just quirky, I think that's downright peculiar. And the physical affection? Oh boy. In multiple episodes, Mr. Krabs is seen kissing, sniffing, and tucking his money into bed. Who does that? In the safe deposit Krabs, he makes himself perfectly comfortable locked inside a bank vault surrounded by cash. Not to spend it, not to count it, just to be with it. I mean, focus on the just to be with it part. We usually do it with our parents or girlfriends. You don't just want to be with money. You want to spend it on the person you want to be with. Honestly, most of us would panic in a locked vault, but not Mr. Krabs. He's in his happy place. Then there's the episode Clams, where he cries after losing his beloved millionth dollar. And don't get confused, we are not talking about $1 million. We are talking about a single dollar. And don't get me started on his vacation to the Bikini Bottom Mint in Krabs Takes a Vacation. Who picks that as a getaway? While you and I would go to sunny beaches, Mr. Krabs risks his life crawling inside a coin press machine, tears up at the sight of shredded money, and practically worships the mint like it's a holy shrine. If there's one moment that screams, Mr. Krabs has a money fetish, it's the episode Money Talks. In this wild episode, Mr. Krabs finally gets what he's been dreaming about: actual conversations with his cash.
If I could talk to money, come along, sing with me!
At first glance, you'd think this would confirm his status as Bikini Bottom's greediest crab. But hold on, when you really break it down, it's not greed driving him, it's a full-blown obsession with money itself. As I've mentioned earlier, greed by definition is about wanting more of personal gain, but Mr. Krabs is not dreaming of living in a mansion or cruising around in a gold-plated boatmobile. No, he literally kicks elderly people out of a table for $5 in this episode just so he can bask in the sweet glow of those bills. And then he makes a deal with the Flying Dutchman, wishing that his money could talk. Let's stop right there because this wish is not normal. Think about it. Money, by definition, is an inanimate object, a tool used for exchange. But to Mr. Krabs, it's something much more. His wish reveals that he sees it as a companion, maybe even a kindred spirit. And when he wishes to talk to money, it's not because he wants investment advice or a secret stock market tip. He wants to bond with it. Let that sink in. This man made a literal deal with the Flying Dutchman, offering up his soul just for the chance to chit-chat with his cash.
I would give anything to talk to money. Anything!
Anything? You? That's right, that's your wish. But it'll cost you.
Yeah, my immortal soul. I've heard that speech before.
That's borderline romantic.
Maybe this'll make you talk. Talk! You're being too hard on the little guy. You can talk to me. I'm your friend.
Who else do you know that would trade their soul for some one-on-one time with dollar bills? And when the money does start talking, what's the first thing it says? When his wish comes true and his money starts speaking to him, he engages in heartfelt conversations with his cash. He listens to it, cares for it, even flirts with it in his own strange way. I mean, it's not hard to see how this dynamic starts to resemble something beyond a simple obsession. It gets even weirder. Mr. Krabs starts spending money against his will, buying fairy princess outfits, corn dogs, and diapers because the money begs him to. Watching him squirm as he spends cash is like watching someone forced to throw their most prized possession off a cliff. If this were just about greed, he'd be thrilled to spend a little to make a lot. But for Krabs, spending money is like ripping out a piece of his soul. Well, whatever's left of it after all those deals. By the end of the episode, Mr. Krabs is so distraught that he tries to break out of the deal with the Flying Dutchman, even though it's way too late. He loves the idea of his money having a voice, but only if that voice aligns with his hoarding instincts. This shows that his relationship with money is about possession, affection, and control. To top it off, this behavior aligns eerily well with the psychological traits of fetishism. A fetish involves attributing human-like qualities or emotional significance to inanimate objects, often coupled with intense, irrational attachment. Let's not forget his wish itself. If money could talk, what did he imagine it would say? Did he want it to praise him, thank him, or even whisper sweet nothings in his ear? The very notion is deeply personal and suggests that Mr. Krabs' attachment to money is far from financial. But what's the root cause of this fetish? To figure it out, we have to understand Mr. Krabs, and if we want to understand him, we have to go back to the beginning. In the episode Friend or Foe, Mr. Krabs revealed that he didn't start out as a money-hoarding crab we know today. In fact, his life began at rock bottom. He and his mother lived in poverty so severe that she had to sew his clothes from old rags.
There you go, son. Your outfit's all finished.
At that time, Krabs and Sheldon Plankton were inseparable best friends. Krabs was dirt poor, bullied for his raggedy clothes, while Plankton, the stereotypical brainiac, was ridiculed for his smarts. They were the ultimate underdogs, and their bond was created because of a shared misery. I mean, he once had to wear a box because Old Man Jenkins jacked his hand-me-down outfit to wax his car. Then, one day at a carnival, something magical happened. Amid the popcorn and laughter, Krabs found his first penny. You could almost hear the angelic choir as he picked it up. This coin was validation, hope, and a shiny screw you to everyone who ever called him poor. For a kid who had next to nothing, that coin was his first real possession, something to call his own. And in a rare moment of generosity, he used that penny to buy a balloon for Plankton. If only present-day Mr. Krabs could see that, he'd probably pass out. Fast forward a bit, and our duo decides to stick it to the world by opening their own burger stand after being humiliated by Stinky, a burger vendor with worse hygiene standards than his name suggests. Stinky's food was literal garbage, but the kids loved it. He refused to serve Krabs and Plankton, calling them freaks and making them wait behind the building like some second-rate riffraff.
If it's burgers you want, go round back.
Honestly, the guy probably inspired every bad Yelp review ever written. But Krabs and Plankton weren't quitters. They cooked up their own burger recipe in a secret hideout and opened Plabs Burgers, because branding wasn't their strong suit. Things were looking up until their first customer. Old Man Jenkins took a bite, smiled, and immediately fainted.
Crab patties KO Old Man J.
Apparently, their culinary skills weren't any better than Stinky's because the next day, the newspaper reported that their burger knocked him out. Not exactly a glowing review. Then came the ultimate breakup. They fought over their recipe, ripped it in half, and their friendship shattered.
Stop! You're gonna...
So that first penny at the carnival planted the seed. Losing Plankton as a friend watered it. And the Krabby Patty formula was the fertilizer that turned Krabs into the dollar-hoarding maniac we know today. In a way, his greed became a coping mechanism, a way to fill the void left by the betrayal of someone he considered a friend. Psychologists call this a textbook case of displacement, redirecting feelings of anger, betrayal, and loss onto a safer, non-threatening target. For Krabs, money became that target. It filled the emotional void left by his childhood struggles and the loss of his best friend. But it didn't stop there. Over time, Krabs began to start treating money like a human, like someone he loves. He hugs it, sniffs it, even tucks it into bed at night. This could also fall under objectophilia, which is a condition where individuals form deep emotional or romantic attachments to inanimate objects. Frankly, I didn't know such psychological behaviors exist, but when I looked it up, it was exactly describing Mr. Krabs. In Krabs' case, cold hard cash became his emotional support system. You know how some people hug a teddy bear when they're sad? Krabs hugs his wallet. Money is his emotional support system. It's like he's saying, if I can't trust people, at least I can trust these crisp dollar bills. And this obsession creates a vicious cycle. The more he hoards money, the more he isolates himself. The more isolated he becomes, the deeper his fixation grows. And while this provides a sense of security, it comes at the cost of meaningful relationships. Plankton, meanwhile, remains locked in his own cycle of envy and revenge, fueled by feelings of betrayal and inferiority. So we're done unraveling Mr. Krabs' obsession, for now. But this what if was a bit different. I'm looking for more, like what if Squidward was never born? Would the Krusty Krab even survive without its cashier? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on my next deep dive into the weird and wonderful world of SpongeBob. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go check on my secret formula for making content. See you next time.